Hello, once again. This is Mike DiMartino, co-creator and executive producer of Avatar.
And this is Bryan Konietzko, the other guy
Who does a lot of stuff.
like co-creation. I usually co-create between like 9:30 a.m. and 9:41.
And then you're executive producer in the afternoon.
I make executive products between like 10:01 and 10:14.
Wow.
What about you, Mike?
I take the 2 to 3:30 shift on the executive production.
So this episode, as we mentioned in the commentary on the previous episode, this is one we knew was gonna come, pretty much when we came up with Zuko. But we didn't put it where a lot of fans thought it would be in the series cycle.
Yeah, story-wise, you want to drag these things out. you want to that last moment where it's really important that he changes sides. Because if he joins too early, then you got all this time with Zuko, and it's not as emotionally rewarding, I feel.
Yeah, as we said last time, you want to feel that he earned it, and that he's got a lot of baggage. Yeah. So we were just talking about the title of this episode, the Western Air Temple, sort of keeping in the tradition every time they go to one of the air temples. That's the name of the episode. But there's a history to the name.
It was originally called Zuko's Cool.
And then?
What about Zuko?
Now,
two titles that didn't quite make the cut.
I recall the reason that was the working title is that our episode titles kept leaking through various leaks. And so if it was like, Zuko joins the group, then,
it kind of gives it away.
Gives it away. Everybody would know what was happening when. So we, I think Aaron was like, well, let's just call it something ridiculous. So we'll know what it is. But, so yeah, it was called Zuko's Cool for a while. And then, we just had where they started releasing Season 3 DVDs a lot sooner compared to when the episodes were coming out. So, like, all the episode titles are on the internet before they air, so.
Zuko is cool, though, so it would have been an appropriate title.
He's aight. So here we see that, the Western Air Temple is located on this massive land that's pretty much due north of the Fire Nation. So years ago when Zuko was banished, this was the first place they went. They were looking for an airbender, and when he was searching for the Avatar. So,
is that why he has a bandage over his eye?
It is.
Freshly wounded?
That's just because Zuko's cool. That was all the rage.
That was one of his looks back in the day.
That was all the rage back then.
He's like, Uncle, I'm going to wear this bandage for many years. It will become a trend throughout the Earth Kingdom.
So they went to the nearest air temple and started their cycle around the world.
This air temple is very unique in that it is clearly upside down. Or the spires are kind of hanging off the rock rather than going up. Where did that come from?
I don't know. I was getting tired of just doing the first air temple, the southern one, didn't really come out the way I wanted, and then so with the second one, I had been up to Whistler, Canada, and we had based some of the mountains on that for the Northern Air Temple, and yeah, I thought that one was a lot cooler. And then for the Eastern Air Temple, I thought let's break it up and have put it on 3 different peaks and have these bridges, and it was cool, but nothing was like really that different. It was just some temples up on a towering mountain. So I don't know. I just had the idea to flip it upside down, and then we thought we'd base the architecture on like Tibetan, Bhutanese rooftops and stuff. And throughout the years, Mike and I always see these cliffside temples that are just so cool, and then you just had the opportunity to visit many of them.
I actually went to Bhutan, which some of this architecture is based off of, and I did this hike to a place called Tiger's Nest, which is the holiest Buddhist site in Bhutan, and it really was like walking to an air temple, because it's about 9,000 feet, and got to hike up this crazy winding path, and the temple is literally built in the cliffs. So I don't know. It was originally built in like the 14th, 15th century, and it's since been rebuilt and stuff. But when you try to imagine like someone building it on those cliffs, like there's no like roads, there's no easy way to get there. So it's pretty amazing. And they didn't have flying bison either. So
that's true.
Although the monk that hung out there supposedly had a flying tiger. So maybe he did. Maybe that's how they got the wood up there.
They had some flying tiger general contractors who were building it for them.
Could be. I like this scene where Zuko tries to impersonate Uncle in Azula. Dante had a fun time with this, because he usually doesn't get to do a lot of comedy, so seeing Zuko doing comedy is pretty funny, because he's not that good at it.
I don't know, I think he's pretty good at the Azula one. Like he's like cocking his hip out to the side.
Yeah.
So this creepy little badger frog. What is it?
It's a badger frog. Yeah.
Badger frog.
He's like one of those badger mole things, right? I think.
Angie and I based it on this crazy drawing that Ethan Spalding did, the director of this episode.
What? The wind is too loud in my ears. Check out this loop. And I think we should be making some plans about our future. Okay, we can do that while I show you the giant pie show table. Oh, you're gonna love the all-day echo chamber. I think that'll have to wait.
She says, "What about Zuko?"
And then Katara goes, "Zuko's cool." So this is, one of our favorites from the season, I think, because it's got so much emotion, and it's got, Zuko just trying to fit in, trying to do the right thing now, and the kid's not accepting him right away. You're on Zuko's side. You're like, yeah, finally he's gonna team up with them, but it would be too easy if the kids just accepted him right away. So it's cool to see that struggle and conflict.
The person who has the least amount of baggage with him, Toph, is the one who is able to see.
Right.
It's easiest for her to forgive him and kind of be pragmatic about the situation. Katara has the hardest time, because she was probably the most emotionally invested in Zuko.
I mean, how stupid do you think we are?
I always feel like Katara is speaking for the fans in this episode. like you've betrayed us. We know you made the wrong choice before. We don't trust you.
Well, 50% of the fans.
Oh, yeah.
Or whatever percentage the Katang people are.
I think it's a 52-48 split now. The latest polls have come.
Yeah, how's Zutara doing in the Iowa caucus?
I think they're ahead of John McCain, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Look, I admit I've done some awful things.
I think we got Oprah back in the Katang, though. Once Oprah's behind it.
It's gonna win.
Wait, you said Combustion Man after us?
I like that moment because Zuko doesn't even realize he just spilled the beans on that one.
Insult your friend.
Little Freudian slip.
That guy locked me and Katara in jail and tried to blow us all up. Why aren't you saying anything?
So now he's
Anyone said you thought we could
appealing to Aang's,
I have good in me.
well, the side of Aang that Zuko saw in like episode 113, where despite everything Zuko had done up to that point, Aang, was still interested in trying to be his friend and didn't really think of him as an enemy. Obviously made an impression on Zuko, and so when he's in this tough situation here, he's appealing to that side of Aang.
But he has made a lot of bad choices, so Aang is reluctant to just be pals with him.
Well, we'd better not see you again.
I think Momo likes him though. He's a little sad.
Appa likes him.
I can't believe how stupid I am.
Some more great
What was I thinking?
acting by Lauren Montgomery. She's very, very good at
Zula did that. They would have believed that. Stupid.
all these character nuances.
Why would he try to fool us like that?
Obviously, he wants to lead us into some kind of trap.
This is just
The lighting came out pretty cool in this.
He starts talking about his mother.
Yeah, it's a great location. You really feel like you're up in the mountains, up in the cliffs.
Trust him and feel sorry for him, so you let your guard down.
I think if
The thing is,
they get to make the third movie, Knight's gonna have a hard time with this location. Might have
You
to
don't think they could just build that?
upside. Well, maybe there is an upside down temple in the world. I don't know.
you can't trust him.
You can just build a set hanging off a cliff.
Yeah.
Remember when you
Put some child actors in there. Be fine.
And you made us suck on frozen frogs? How could I forget? I had a wart on the flap that hangs down from the back
This is
of
a
my throat
fun
when I
shot.
looked.
Sokka, I looked
I remember a shot like this in
there.
I could feel it. It's my
Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh yeah.
Dentist. Yeah.
It was Zuko who came in and got me out. He risked his life to save me. No way. I'm
So
sure
we
he-
learned there that Aang never actually shared that story with them
nothing but a big prize to him.
when they were sick.
And
The
there
whole
was all that
crazy
stuff about
Blue Spirit
setting
adventure
fire.
Mhm.
kept to himself.
Actually, he wasn't lying.
Oh, hooray! In a lifetime of evil, at least he didn't add animal cruelty to the list.
That line always raises a red flag for me because Avatar won a Genesis Award, which is the Humane Society award, and then now they're sort of making light of animal cruelty. Sorry about that, Humane Society.
All I know is that while he was talking to us,
I don't think
we're just saying that Zuko maybe should win.
I don't think
such
we're
an
gonna.
award
I don't think we're gonna win another Genesis
for
Award.
saving Appa.
At least not for this episode. It was an honor, though, for the first one. Thank you,
I don't know. We didn't. There's no animal abuse in this episode.
Mike.
What?
Pen is mightier than the sword.
one crucial fact. Aang needs a firebending teacher.
Kids,
We can't think of a single person
be
in the
nice to
world
animals.
who's job. Now one shows up on a silver platter, and you won't even think about it? I'm not having Zuko as my teacher.
You're darn right.
Oh yeah, I just love the script. We have really long dialogue scenes, which we don't normally have, and
The blind one around here.
there's just so many different points of view, and so much scene value in every one. It's really nice. It's kind of like
Who's there?
all the different sides of an argument that would pop up in your head, represented by these characters.
So Zuko again makes a
My feet.
bad mistake here,
Sorry, it was a mistake.
See,
as he says.
Wait for me.
he says I'm cool. Come on, what about me?
Let me help you. I'm sorry.
Get off me! Get off me!
So somebody was like, "Hey, that's the move that hit Jet. Jet didn't make it, but this was more of a shove.
Oh yeah.
It was a rough shove. Jet had more of a boom.
Well, there's also in martial arts that idea of like the intention behind a strike, right? Where
Totally.
Long Fang was evil. He meant to
He had nefarious
do
intentions.
something bad to Jet.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it was.
Yeah,
But,
Toph was just like, get away.
Yeah. So here's the pilot episode of the Harudu Teo spin-off show we're working on.
The Last Street Loser.
Go check for her. Yeah.
So
There he is.
there's a lost episode where we follow them into the temple and stuff.
22 minutes just luging through corridors, around statues, phosphorus, mushrooms.
I remember, I think it was this episode. Since we had those characters, we're like, should we do like like a side story with them, you know, B story or something, and people pitch some ideas, and like they find some more momos in the temple. There are all sorts of funny ideas, and they just never really. It always felt like, you know, we don't really need to know what they're doing.
True filler. I mean, but there is so much to say in this episode.
Oh, totally.
It really wasn't room.
Did firebending you? Yes.
See? You trusted Zuko and you got
So, this script is just fantastic, and
I wish I could have worked.
Elizabeth and Tim wrote it and did an amazing job.
to be left alone. We're gonna have to go after it.
I hate to go looking for a fight, but you're right. After what he did
It's
to
really,
Tom, I don't think we have a choice.
probably, I mean, it feels like our most dialogue-heavy episode ever.
Maybe just invite him
I think so. Yeah, there's some action at the end, but
up as a prisoner
and it's also there's no side characters. Usually when we have to cast an episode, there's a number of, you know, new characters or some generals, some whatever. This one's just
master of surprise song.
the regulars, which is cool. It's fun to do just episodes like that.
And then even though we designed the Western Air Temple for this episode, we actually got to reuse it for a bunch, which we almost never get to do.
Yeah, because we kind of needed a base for them to stay at for a while, since they had already kind of walked around the Fire Nation for a while. They were now, you know, now the Fire Lord knew they were in the Fire Nation, so they needed a more secluded area to lay low for a bit. Now we see Zuko come to the rescue.
Trying to clean up the mess he made with putting this guy on Aang's trail. So the problem is, Zuko got, you know, he hired Combustion Man to take out Aang, but even if Zuko, you know, doesn't want him on the job anymore, I think Combustion Man has pretty much figured out that it would be good for him in the Fire Lord standing if he did it anyway.
I could see too, maybe Azula found him, told him to finish the job.
I think he's got his own.
He's a deep character.
Yeah. So
Lots of backstory that we don't know about.
Kisu was happy to point out that the fountain above, you know, this fountain right there on their little, that it got blown up in this episode, but then it's totally fully formed in the next one or something.
Oh,
Yeah, but I just said, you know, Toph and Teo were bored.
yeah, they could have
doing a little
fixed it.
general contracting.
I thought we did track that though, because we knew there was going to be this fight, so we're like, well, we need like a destroyed version too.
Well, but sometimes we say those things,
Yeah.
that don't really happen.
But that's the convenient thing about having Earthbenders; they can fix
Yeah.
stuff.
I mean, I think Earthbenders built this place in the first place. The
Yeah.
Aryan Nation was like, look, we need to add
This whole place right
17,000 square feet. It's a negative grade.
I can't
And,
step out to waterbend at him without getting
You know,
blown
they built
up.
it.
And I can't get a good enough angle on him from down here.
So most of this action scene was boarded by Dean Kelly, and I think Joaquin stepped in for this little bit.
Yeah.
So I think this was my idea. I'm sorry if I'm stepping on someone else's toes,
The
but
boomerang stuff.
Yeah.
I remember.
I just thought it was cool that, you know, especially like episode 304, Sokka's always feeling inferior. But turns out none of these super benders can take this guy on. And Sokka has this skill. That was the key. I love that. That's such a great Joaquin pose. And Jack does a great read here.
Aww, boomerang!
So
We saw little hints of this in
Yeah.
207.
his third eye has been stunned.
Kind
So
of his chi is blocked.
Yeah. There they are again. They're like, hey guys, we just had this crazy adventure. What happened out here?
Tune in next week for the exciting losing adventures of...
I can't believe I'm saying this, but thanks, Zuko.
Hey, what about me?
I love this one.
Boomerang?
Man,
That pose. pose and that read is hilarious. And the line.
Was that,
That was Dean's pose. Yeah.
is that Dean's? Yeah.
When I'm realizing that I had to go through all those things to learn the truth.
Looks like you, Jamie Young, did a nice job
My honor.
animating it.
Somehow my father could return it to me.
It's on par with when
But I know now
Sokka
that no one can give you
grabs Katara's hand at the end of 304.
yourself.
She's like,
Oh, really fast
Yeah.
action. Yeah.
To play my part in ending this war.
I believe that was 306,
I know my destiny is.
for the record.
you're right. I just work here.
I'm sorry for what I did to you. It was an accident. Fire can be dangerous and wild.
So yeah, here's where you're like, hey, you know, he's heartfelt. He's not nervous this time. He's speaking clearly and making his points well. And now that they saw, you know, how he threw, I love Sokka's expression, how he threw himself into danger for their sake, they're buying it. But as Mike said earlier, even though they accept him, you know, it's not like they have a big party.
I'm so happy you accepted me into your group.
Not so fast. I still have to.
Yeah, in fact, at the end, you know, he's all excited thinks there's going to be like a big group hug, and the kids just kind of quietly walk away from him. It's like,
It'll give them plenty of time.
they realize they need him, but they're not super pals yet.
I remember when we started the series, I really thought Sokka would be the one who
This is the way to do it.
saw things more black and white, would have a hard time viewing Fire Nation members as people. You know, I thought he would be the more sort of prejudicial black and white, like they're evil, they're bad. But you know, as the story progressed and we got to know the characters, and it really made more sense that Katara, and it's more interesting that way. Katara, the person who was probably the most empathetic.
She was hurt more emotionally by him.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
Lunch?
I like this awkward nude scene between Zuko and Sokka.
It's rare. It's so weird seeing Zuko smile.
Yeah.
Okay, this is really, really weird.
Yeah, more great voice acting by Jack.
If I have to, I will spend every day of the rest of my life hunting the Avatar. I know it's my destiny to capture him.
You know, Prince Zuko,
Flash to the old robotic Zuko, just destiny. Must capture.
It's nice to see Uncle too, even though he's out there somewhere. We don't know where right now, but his spirit is still alive.
So that's a very realistic thing. I think for most people, the parents or mentors in your life give you some advice, and at the time you just goes in one ear out the other, and you're just not ready to accept it. And then years later, you're like, wow. Often too late to think
That makes sense. Yeah. I just love this end scene because it's got this kind of like, hey, everything's cool. They're all hanging out, and then you're like, oh man, she just
Snap.
She just told him some stuff.
Woman scorned. So great job, Elizabeth and Tim and Ethan. It was one of our favorites. We hope you liked it too.
Thanks again, everyone who works on the show. We know it's not an easy show to make, but you've all made it. Really high quality, really great art and writing and music and all aspects of the show.
Yeah, 9 more to go, right?
I think so.
Wow.
So from this point out, Zuko's with the group, and things are going to be different.
Field trips.
We will prove to you that Zuko is cool.
In case there was any doubt.